All right, my name is Ethan Workman, and I'm going to talk to you about Jim Thorpe and his significance and importance. So first off, who is Jim Thorpe? His real name was James Francis Thorpe, and he was an American athlete and Olympic gold medalist. He was a member of the Sac and Fox Nation. Thorpe was the first Native American to win a gold medal for the United States in the Olympics. He was born May 28th, 1887 in Lincoln County, Oklahoma, and then he died March 28th, 1953 in Lometa, California. He had 8 children and was married 3 different times. So why is he significant? He's one of the most accomplished all-around athletes in history, who in 1950 was selected by American sports writers and broadcasters as the greatest American athlete and the greatest gridiron football player in the first half of the 20th century. Predominantly of American Indian descent, Thorpe attended Haskell Indian School in Lawrence, Kansas, and Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Pennsylvania. While playing football for Carlisle under Coach Pop Warner, he was chosen as halfback on Walter Camp's All-American teams in 1913 and 1912. He was a marvel of speed, power, kicking, and all-around ability. Also in 1912, Thorpe won the decathlon and pentathlon by wide margins at the Olympic Games in Stockholm. So why is he significant? Jim Thorpe won 2 gold medals in Stockholm, July 1912. King Gustav V of Sweden, the patron of the games of the Olympiad, said to him, "You, sir, are the greatest athlete in the world," whenever he was giving Jim Thorpe his 2 gold medals. The U.S. track and field star of Native American ancestry had thrilled the Stockholm crowds with his exploits. He began by winning the pentathlon, which was a long jump, javelin, discus, 200-meter, and 1500-meter. Coming home first in every event except for the javelin, and followed up by finishing 4th in the long jump and 7th in the high jump. He saved the best until last, however, producing an extraordinary performance in the decathlon, which comprised the 100-meter long jump, shot put, high jump, 400-meter, discus, 110-meter hurdles, pole vault, javelin, and the 1500-meter. In beating his nearest challenger, Sweden's Hugo Wishlander, by nearly 700 points. And he set by a new world record of 8,412 points, which would stand until 1948. Why else was he significant? Jim Thorpe was stripped of those gold medals that he won in 1912. He was an Olympic track champion who lost his gold medals because he played minor league baseball. He was stripped of his gold medals in 1913 after it was discovered that he had violated amateur rules by being paid to play minor league baseball in 1909 and 1910. Attempts to have the medals returned were not rewarded until 1982, almost 30 years after Thorpe's death. And even then, the medals were duplicates that were given to his family once they restored them, so they weren't even the original medals. And he was named co-champion of the Olympics. So during those summers he was paid to play in 1909 and 1910, Thorpe was paid earning from $2 a game to $35 a week for playing for Rocky Mount and Fayetteville in the Class D Eastern Carolina League. He naively used his real name, unlike other collegians who adopted pseudonyms to foil amateur rules. Why else is he significant? Jim Thorpe played professional football. In the fall, after his medals were stripped, or after he had won the gold medals, Thorpe scored 25 touchdowns and 198 points to lead an outstanding Carlisle Indian school team. This launched him toward a pro football career, highlighted in 1920 when he helped found the American Professional Football Association, which would evolve into the National Football League. In 1915, Thorpe played 2 football games for the Canton Bulldogs for a pricey $250 per contest. He decided to stay on as the biggest drawing card for a team that would be recognized as world champion in 1916, 1917, and 1919. And while playing for the Bulldogs in 1920, Thorpe was named the first president of the American Professional Football Association. After playing with Cleveland in 1921, Thorpe created and played for the all-Native American Oorang Indians. He also played professional baseball. So after leaving Carlisle, Thorpe signed to play baseball and Thorpe signed to play baseball and be a gate attraction for the New York Giants. He admitted he was more a sitting hen and not a ball player. Troubled by the curveball, Thorpe hit only .252 in his 6 seasons as an outfielder with the Giants, Cincinnati Reds, and the Boston Braves. His best season was his last one when he batted .327 in 60 games for Boston. Thorpe was also a victim of racism. Thorpe, whose parents were both half Caucasian, was raised as a Native American. He accomplished his athletic feats during a period of severe racial inequality in the United States. It has often been suggested that his Olympic medals were stripped by the athletic officials because of his ethnicity. While it is difficult to prove this, the public comment at the time largely reflected this view. At the time Thorpe won his gold medals, not all Native Americans were recognized as U.S. citizens. Citizenship was not granted to all American Indians until 1924. Then after sports, Jim Thorpe struggled. Without sports, Thorpe drifted around the country. His drinking, an issue before, became destructive. There were many fights and almost as many jobs, as a painter, ditch digger, deckhand, auto plant guard, and bar bouncer among them. The 50s brought him renewed fame. Besides being named the top athlete of the half-century, he was portrayed by Burt Lancaster in the 1951 film Jim Thorpe All-American. On March 28, 1953, Thorpe suffered his 3rd heart attack and died in a trailer park in Lomita, California. A year later, his wife Patricia sold his body to the towns of Mauch Chunk and East Mauch Chunk. As stipulated in the contract, the 2 small Pennsylvania towns combined into one and was renamed Jim Thorpe. And here are my references.